So today we're having a party for Misterton, because Misterton's 100 years old this year. So that'll be really exciting. And there's loads of people coming, we hope, even though it's snowy and icy. All these wonderful cakes are from Fen Lane Cafe. Just round the corner from the boatyard if you come on holiday. They're lovely. And this is almond and mincemeat that Barbara's cutting up. I really liked it when I tried this. Personal favourite. Cut it, Barbara.
I thought I'd give you a bit of an overview about our boat. It was built in Beverley in East Yorkshire in 1923. It was originally built to carry grain from Hull to Lincoln. I've seen the original registration documents. It was built as a sailing boat apparently. I've never seen any sails on it, but it could have been. The reason it's built longer and lower than the other boats on the northeastern canals of the UK is it had to go through something called the Glory Hole. Okay, Nate? That's me standing next to the Glory Hole in Lincoln. It's a covered bridge.
Before I met Simon, I always thought the Glory Hole was something completely different. He certainly opened my eyes.
My top tip is make sure that safe search is on before you enter the phrase glory hole. Your results might vary. So she had a long working life. She was working from 1923 up until 1993. She's the barge on the left in this picture with the smoke coming out of the chimney. There used to be like a crewman's quarters in the sort of forepeak with a stove and everything. And do the next one, Nate. That's the picture that we put on the invitation. I think she used to carry about 120 tons of steel down to Rotherham from Hull. So she worked quite hard. And then that's carrying some undisclosed amount of steel that's obviously very heavy. So that's what she looked like. Probably worth talking a little bit about Mary and I. We met in 2006. I tried two things that year. First thing was I was trying internet dating to prove to a friend of mine that it wouldn't work. That didn't go out so well. Well, it did go well, but not to prove my friend wrong. And I also bought a boat to try living on it. When Mary and I went on our first date, she was a little bit puzzled by me.
He spent the entire time talking about Paris Hilton, stay with Paris Hilton, Nate, and I came back and I said to my friends, all this guy talked about was, I live on a boat, I love boats, and I love Paris Hilton, so I doubt I'll see him again. I don't look anything like her.
So, the reason I talked about Paris Hilton is she was in the news all the time and I couldn't actually see what she did, so I thought I was making conversation, but with hindsight, not the best dating technique. So, next one, Nate. That's my narrowboat that I lived on. Thought it was really nice. Mary used to, she was working in education, so I think you were an assistant head when I met you, then a deputy, then a head teacher. So all her summer holidays, she used to go on exotic locations such as Cambodia and Vietnam. I managed to convince her that going out on a narrowboat on the Thames was pretty much like being on a yacht. Okay. That's us on the narrowboat. The next one. So that's Mary. It's I think it's Henley, wasn't it?
Yeah, Henley. That picture is always very poignant to me because that weekend Simon decided he needed to do something to cheer me up because unfortunately my dad had passed away on the Thursday and I was really sad obviously, and he decided to take me away for the weekend and we went on the narrowboat to Henley, which was beautiful until about 11 o'clock at night when the local teenagers came out with lots of like Smirnoff Ice equivalent of whatever they were drinking at the time and making lots of noise, but it certainly made me laugh. But there's always been a kind of poignant moment with that picture. I love it, and I think what a great guy. He's always trying to cheer me up.
I learned in the early stages of our relationship that depending on the time of day, a cup of tea or a gin and tonic fixes most things. So we eventually got married. We were going to get married on a boat, but that didn't work out. We ended up getting married in a church in Crouch End in North London. but the wedding reception was on the Battersea barge down by Nine Elms Pier, so I managed to get a boat in somewhere. There's a bit of a theme to most of our holidays. It either involves a boat or going around some sort of industrial site to look at things. Right, Nate. So we looked around. Mary and I are both quite tall. A 50-foot narrow boat wasn't really going to cut it, so we started looking for bigger boats. And we saw, I don't know, half a dozen or more boats, Dutch ones, British ones.
We saw a lot of boats over a lot of months, and most of them, it's fair to say, we couldn't stand up in, and one always sticks in my memory because it was in Manchester on the Manchester Ship Canal, and I was thinking, oh yeah, great, I can live in Manchester, I studied in Manchester, it's great, I love it here. We went there, and honest to God, you had to climb in a hole this high to get in to start with, and then when we got in it, there was a man who must have been way past retirement. And then he had his girlfriend, and she was 19. I found it all a bit peculiar. I don't know what he was doing, but good on him, but it was too small for me.
I thought, wow, young woman, this is looking up. So, we looked at various boats, and in fact, it was on that Manchester trip we were meant to go and look at this boat called Misterton, but the broker phoned up and said it had been sold. A month later, they phoned us back and said the sale had fallen through. Would we like to have a look? It's probably always worth using a degree of caution when even the broker says you need to see the potential. So I know the picture's a bit dark, but that's what she looked like when we saw her moored at Stainforth in East Yorkshire. She didn't look that different than when she was out of trade. Mary and I, well, more me than Mary in some ways, naively thought we could just give it a bit of a clean and a lick of paint and then we could move on to it a few months later after we were married. That's the interior, very gloomy. I've had a couple of really low moments in my life, and immediately after buying the barge was one of them, because I realized, even though we had it surveyed, how bad it was in terms of its fit out and the way it was done. And I thought, here, this is the woman that I've asked to marry me. She hasn't even married me yet, and I've spent a whole load of money on a boat that I think is probably best to be condemned. But managed to go over it after about a day or so and a couple of trips to the pub. We took it to Goole where some boat builders were helping us, and we thought, we'll just do a room at a time. But by the time we got the first room stripped down, we thought actually the whole thing's so bad, we actually ended up gutting it. So that's the inside of the boat there. It's all stripped out, the walls have been painted, it was all spray foamed. So it turned out, like most projects, it just expanded in scope. That's the interior plan of the boat that I drew on a cross-channel ferry using a SketchUp, I think. And that's pretty much how it looks inside today. So,
It is how it looks inside today, and missing off the SketchUp plan was the back cabin, because there's a back cabin to Misterton which has never been finished, because when we bought Misterton, Simon told me the back cabin he would turn into this luxurious couch, sofa, wonderful place for me to drink gin, watch chick flicks, read books and relax. It's not on the plan and it hasn't been done, so we'll see.
I was hoping to gloss over that. Right. There's a picture of Mary looking very Rosie the Riveter there with her headscarf, working hard. You want to go to the next one, Nate? That's me in the pub thinking up new concepts. More of a sort of supervisory role. But Mary and I used to drive up from London, Mary was working in London, I was based out of London, I was flying all over Europe. We used to drive up on a Friday night to Goole, which is about 180 miles away, work on the barge for 2 days, and then drive back on the Sunday night. We did this for about 18 months. So that, in conjunction with the boat builders, got everything basically done in terms of walls and interior insulation, things like that. There was absolutely nothing in the boat. We then managed to get it towed down to London. We found a mooring at Staines at the bottom of somebody's garden. This is Staines upon Thames, as it's known now.
And I'm going to use my British voice, because at the side of this house here is an outdoor toilet, because when he says nothing on it, he convinced me
There was no toilet.
to move on the barge with no toilet, no cooking, and an outside toilet, and that looks lovely, but on Christmas Day we had to go go with a big stick and break the toilet water that was frozen in order to use the toilet. I don't know how he does it.
It was all character building. Right, next one, Nate. While we're in Staines, do you recognise this person, Nate? 14th of January 2011, we had a new crew member arrive. We had actually got a working bathroom by that stage. We moved onto the boat, I think, in May 2010, and have lived there ever since. Nate's lived there as well. Do you want to do the next slide? When Nate was little, he got introduced to lots of parent-approved activities, such as canoeing across flood waters. That was 2013 when the Thames was in flood. There was actually one day when Nate and I, Mary was sick, we took that old canoe and we paddled down the Chertsey Road that was completely underwater. We got ourselves on the front page of the Telegraph. So that was quite interesting. Kind of in the midst of all this, in 2012, we wanted to make some changes to the boat, so we're going to put a new rudder on it. So we took it to dry dock in Sunbury, and although we'd had the boat surveyed when we bought it, and they said basically it was sound, we thought, well, let's have another survey while we're there. Anyway, next slide. That's me after pressure washing the bottom of the boat, and Nate. I blew about 20 holes into the bottom of the boat. We were pretty gutted, I think it's fair to say. Yeah, I'll show that in a minute. But we'd kind of invested all this time and money into this boat to discover that the first surveyor completely missed the fact that it had rotted away underneath. So we had to decide what to do. I think you had an interesting point yesterday that I'd forgotten.
Simon made us practice yesterday. So what Simon did was he realised the bottom of the boat was rotten and it was letting water in. In fact, the surveyor said we were not allowed to leave the boat for more than 24 hours at a time, so we couldn't go anywhere and we had to leave a bilge pump running the whole time. So Simon told us both to go separately and have a cup of coffee somewhere and decide what we wanted to do individually for the boat and then come back together again, because he said he didn't want it to be just his decision or just my decision. We needed to make it separately and then come back together. He's always very good at being fair.
Yeah, it was, Mary told me this yesterday, reminded me, I'd completely forgotten it. Sometimes I'm astounded at how sensible I am sometimes. Take that as a win. But yeah, it was quite tricky. We decided that we loved the boat, we wanted to keep it. We got some quotes for patching it up, which were huge, and we decided to go ahead. So go to the next slide, mate. That's MSO Marine in Brentford, in London, where we had the work done. They used a very high pressure water blaster to get all the rust and paint off. Originally they were going to sort of just weld new plates to the bottom of the boat, but after they'd looked at it, they said there's actually nothing left to attach them to. And I will show you what it was like. This here is some of the plating that's cut out the bottom of the boat. You go to the next step. That's a picture of a guy sitting on a plastic deck chair with an oxyacetylene torch, burning out rivets to take all the plating off the bottom of the boat. So the costs are now at least triple from what we thought was marginal to start with. Then I think it's like a 50-foot length by 15 feet wide was all cut off and taken away. And it turned into this huge job. I decided they're originally going to use the quarter mil, there's a 1/4 inch or 6mm plate, but I decided, well, it's actually built with thicker material, so let's just go for that. So we ended up using 10mm plate, which is what it was built with originally. So it was in the dry dock for about 2 or 3 months while these guys did all the work on it. Goes the next one. That's the floor in our living room, looking down to the dry dock underneath where all the plating had been cut away and just the frames are left at the bottom. So all that steel had to be new plates welded on, turned into a massive job. Next one. That's some of the work they've done on the bow. And then the next one, that's around the propeller. So they did a really good job. While all this was going on, we weren't on the boat. So we were living in bed and breakfast.
When he says we were living in bed and breakfast, let's just recap. Simon was working as an IT manager, flying all around Europe. I don't know where he was flying, So Sunday night he'd normally go. He used to go Monday mornings, but suddenly he went Sunday night, and he'd be away till Friday night in 4-star luxury hotels, and I'd be in a Premier Inn, a travel lodge, a bed and breakfast, the back of the car, somebody's sofa, and he'd phone me up and he'd be saying, "Do you want to talk to Nate, who's only 18 months? Oh no, room service just arrived with the dinner, I've got to go." So when he says we lived in bed and breakfast, he glossed over, he forgot that.
Yeah, I thought some of those hotels were 3-star. It wasn't all beer and Skittles. Yeah, Mary did have the joy of childcare and being I think you're a new head teacher by that stage, and living out the back of the car. Nate spent his second birthday in the travel lodge in Staines. I've got a photograph of him, which I'll bring out when he's 18, which is a cupcake with 2 candles in it, so he can talk about his deprived childhood. So we got the boat back. I think after it came out of dry dock, the Thames immediately went into floods. We couldn't actually move on to it for a couple of months. We then started looking around for somewhere that we could buy to keep the boat. Initially on the Thames, we found a nice little house that we didn't really want, but it had a nice bit of land with it. It was around the time of the subprime mortgage, so despite the fact we both had 2 good jobs, we couldn't get a loan or anything like that. So we started looking further afield. I sold my house in New Zealand. We sort of started getting money together. We looked in Kent and York. The one in York was interesting. The guy said, "Oh yeah, it's fine, but when it floods in the winter, you have to row."
He said, "Yeah, it's fine. When it floods in the winter, you've got to row for a mile to get to your car in the morning." I was like, "No." And then you had to buy the old Thames barge on the mooring, which we'd then have to get rid of to put our barge on it. And when I went on it, there was a toilet that I've never seen the like of before that was absolutely disgusting. 2 guys who said they lived on it who were clearly of no fixed abode, and some very interesting smells drifting around all over the place. I just thought, what? No.
Yeah, no, that wasn't good. We were looking all around the country. We looked in Pinmill, North London, all sorts of places. But I was very clear, despite seeing sort of fairly affordable places for sale, definitely didn't want to move to East Anglia. No way. During this period, I'd taken voluntary redundancy from my job. I was kind of looking after Nate, which he survived. He has got a scar that he acquired on the first day of me looking after him, but he sort of survived. But yeah, one day during that period, I saw a little boatyard for sale in somewhere called Beccles, and I said, well, let's just go and have a look and see what you get for your money in a part of the country that I don't want to live in. And we came up, we had a look around. The place was obviously a little bit run down, but we really liked it. And on the drive home, we were both very quiet for a long time thinking about it. But long story short, we obviously bought the place. I think we've had it about 9.5 years now. So next one. So yeah, when we moved up, the barge had to come around the coast again. It was towed, and I thought it was because Mary was busy with work. I'd actually forgotten what you were doing at the time.
Oh, geez. It's yesterday. He said, "Oh, yeah, you didn't come with us, did you? Because you're busy with..." This is yesterday. You're busy with work. I was like, hello. I had to stay living in Staines upon Thames because I was having chemo. I wasn't allowed to leave. He's going, "Oh, were you? Oh, I forgot that. I thought that's convenient, isn't it?"
It's been quite good for us doing this. I put this picture, there's only a couple of pictures. This is our barge going underneath St. Oliver's Bridge. It's probably the only time it's going to do it. We used to have a wheelhouse that collapsed. But yeah, literally we got up to it. The bridge was kind of like that. I had to duck, steer like that, and we got underneath it. We're actually escorted through at the time by Steve Wright, who I think you might know, Adam, one of the old Broads Rangers, who's sadly no longer with us. So, next one there. And then that's just the barge arriving at the boatyard for the first time. Steve helped us with that. And then that's the mooring it was on behind Coop Club originally. So it's been quite a long journey to get here. And we sort of realised how much having this boat has shaped our lives, hasn't it?
Yeah,
You haven't got a prize, have you?
no,
Ah, okay. Yeah, so we bought this boat. we moved it to the Thames and then found jobs around it, or Mary found a job. She moved out from her job in inner London to Slough. And then we found a place up here. And we never planned to work together, but somehow we've ended up with this business and we're working together.
Working together, living together. And we're still married. So that's quite good. But Misterton's quite an interesting boat. It's got an amazing history. We've got a book that was written by the owner who had it in service for years about all the things it carried. It's got a huge journey, and now we've done all that work to it on the bottom of the boat. The guy told us it would last for at least 100 years. So it's on the Historic Ships Register because there are only 2 of them left that exist these days. And it will keep a piece of history alive beyond when we're alive on 100 years. That'll see us, so that's absolutely fine. And it's great. So it's where it is, it's where it's going to go to, and who knows what the Misterton journey will take us to next. Hopefully to Europe at some point, hopefully on some more travels. But that money spent on the bottom was probably money well spent because it's in a really good space. And in fact, we had it surveyed 5 years ago, and it's still the same thickness as when they put it on, and it's coming out next March for its next survey and European Safety Certificate, so hopefully it will still be as thick. And that's it really, but I've remembered something we have to do which has nothing to do with Misterton. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So, we had our staff Christmas do on Friday, but someone couldn't come, unfortunately, and it's a shame because we have got a special award, so we thought, actually, this is even better, and his mum and dad are going to love it, because we've made him a special Hipperson's Award, which you'll either understand or you won't understand. And this is award, it says Jack Sisley, I've said that wrong again, haven't I? It says Jack Sisley, Hipperson's Golf Champion 2023. And now we get to do it in front of loads of people, and they'll all be saying, what do you mean golf champion? I'm sure he'll tell you if you ask him. So the barbecue is just outside the back door, and he said by about 12 it'll be ready. So if you're hungry, they've got sausages and burgers and things. Please go and help yourself. The band is going to play, tea and coffee, and really importantly, all of that cake has to be eaten before the end of the afternoon. We can't have any cake left. It's very important. It all goes. I don't care if you have to take it home. It's going. So have a nice time.
That's it. Thank you very much.